It is not a final assessment of the election as voting and collation processes are still ongoing in some locations. Polling unit opening, voting, and voter turnout. PPDC and partners observed a generally encouraging start to voting across the state. More than 70% of the polling units observed were open and had commenced voting between 7:30 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. Election officials and materials were generally present across most observed locations, allowing voting to commence without significant disruption in many polling units. Voter turnout was also encouraging across several locations, with voters arriving early to exercise their franchise. However, turnout varied across polling units. At polling unit 028, Open Space Motion Ground, Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, in Ife Central Local Government, for example, turnout was relatively low, which observers attributed largely to the absence of students from the university community during the election period. The Situation Room also received reports of delays and operational challenges at specific polling units. These challenges were escalated through the Situation Room to relevant INEC officials, with intervention secured in several cases. Beaver's performance and accreditation. The biomodel voter accreditation system Beavers generally functioned across the majority of observed polling units. However, isolated cases of malfunction, slow processing, and difficulty with biometric authentication were reported in several local governments. As voting progressed, reports of alleged vote buying, vote trading, and other forms of voter inducement become increasingly prominent across some observed locations. Our observers reported instances where voters allegedly offered money and other inducements in connection with their votes in Boluwodore local government, Ward 5, Unit 4.
The overall environment across majority of the observed polling units remained largely peaceful, and voters generally able to participate without major disruption. However, the Situation Room received reports of isolated cases but serious incidences of violence and disruption in some locations. Of particular concern was the reported disruption at a polling unit in Ejigbo local government, where the candidate of the ADC, African Democratic Congress, voted. Reports received indicated that suspected hoodlums invaded the polling units, disrupted voting, carted away election materials, and vandalized parked vehicles, causing voters, election officials, and others at the location to flee for safety. The Situation Room also received reports of disruption in Modakeke, Ife East local government area, as well as an alleged incident involving the removal of ballot boxes at Okeare polling unit in Boripe local government area of the state by suspected political party hoodlums. Another concerning report involved the alleged harassment of a journalist attached to data fights while carrying out professional duties. These incidents are serious concerns, while some reports remain subject to further verification. PPDC and partners urged security agencies to investigate all reported cases and ensure that perpetrators of these electoral violence are held accountable. The presence of isolated incidents should not be allowed to undermine the broader electoral processes. At the same time, such incidents must not be dismissed.
The 2026 Osun State gubernatorial election remain ongoing, and it is too early to make a definite judgment on the overall credibility of the process. PPDC and its partners commend the millions of Osun voters who have come out to exercise their democratic rights, as well as election officials and security personnel